Control it, you know. He kind of knows it probably is.
It's summertime and time to get on the water. Here's how a weekend and $100 can get you your very own sailboat. You're going to use a 2x4, a tarp, some gray conduit, and get this, an air mattress to make your very own sailboat. It's only going to cost you $100 and you can get the parts at Home Depot and Target. So let's get started. Oh, the other thing is you can take it apart and put it in your car to take it to sail out on the Alpine lakes that you like to go visit. What are you going to need? Well, you're going to want a Coleman air mattress. They have a really great nozzle for inflation. That's about 22 bucks. I got mine at Target. You're going to want a tarp, 10 foot by 12 foot. That's about 12 bucks. An 8 foot 2x4, that's only about $3 at Home Depot. They have something called a project panel. Those are 2 foot by 4 foot and they're plywood and they're about $12. The other thing you're going to need is 4 of those gray Schedule 80 PVC conduit pipes. That's going to set you back about 30 bucks. Good luck finding those on sale. The other thing you're also going to want to get some rope. That's about 10 bucks, and then some screws. I used 2.5 inchers and 1.25 inches. $5? Yeah, probably get better than that. So you're at 90 bucks. Oh yeah, I forgot. You want some paint too. Get the cheap paint that somebody decided they didn't want the color and so they left it at the store. You can always find stuff on sale too, and you might even be able to do this for less than $100. Here are the tools you'll need to build your $100 sailboat. A drill with a 1/2 inch drill bit and a Phillips head screwdriver and a hole saw to cut a hole to make a space to fit your mast into, a lighter to seal up the ends of the ropes as you cut them, sewing machine so that you can sew up your tarp into a sail and a sack for your air mattress, a circle saw to cut wood with, and a chisel to clean up some of the slots that you'll be making. And a pair of scissors is useful for cutting the tarp, and I also used a sanding block to round off all the edges on things I'd cut, and also a needle and thread to sew up some of the places. Oh yeah, thread. So thread's going to cost you about $3, so I guess we're up to $93 at this point. Ready to go? Let's begin! Let's start with the project panel. It's 2 feet by 4 feet. Cut it in half. Cut one of those halves at a diagonal, 18 inches at the top and 12 inches at the bottom, and cut a little notch out about 1.5 inches by 6 inches. That's going to become the keel. The other part is going to become the rudder. On the other half, let's cut 18 inches off and make that the seat, and then the last little bit left there, let's cut out a set of 4 3.5 inch by 6 inch chunks. Those are going to become the mast stays. On the seat, use your circle saw and just notch the corners off so that it's not so pokey. Also use your circle saw to cut the end of your 2x4. Make a big chunk out about 12 inches deep and the width of your plywood. And here's what you're going to do now. You're going to take your keel and you're going to attach it into that notch you just cut in the 2x4. So there's a couple of things. You could either screw it in directly, or you can build a couple of keel stays that'll be 1.5 inches apart, screw those in, and then you can slide it in and out of your 2x4 for easier packing. Now to build your mast stay, take those 4 little chunks and with your circle saw just drill a hole in the middle of each one. This is where you're going to put the mast in. Stack them all up in a nice lump of 4 and screw them in right here behind the end of the keel. You might need to do a couple of runs, do 2 and then do 2 more. At the other end of the 2x4, drill out some holes for the rudder. 1/2 inch holes, inch from the edge. As long as you have your drill out, let's drill some holes to secure the seat to the 2x4. They're about 4 inches apart. Paint all the wood, and while that's drying, let's cut up the tarp. So the tarp is going to make both a sack to fit around your air mattress and a sail. And pull pockets to hold the battens down on the air mattress. So you're going to lay the air mattress out on the tarp and you're going to cut around it. So inflate your air mattress and get a nice snug fit. And as you stitch, make sure that your stitches are really wide because the tarp will tear unless you're using just the longest stitch possible. Sew in some pole pockets. These guys need to have about a 4-inch gap inside of them so that your poles will fit. Fold your tarp over and stitch all the way around the open edges, leaving a space in the bottom here of 8 to 10 inches to fit the air mattress. And then stitch in some stiffeners. When you turn it right side out, it's going to look like this. So take your air mattress and stuff it inside, inflate it a little bit, and put the poles in and trim about a 4-inch gap out of your pole pocket. When you inflate your air mattress inside of this sack, you want to be really sure that the sack holds all of the pressure. The air mattress is just the bladder. Using your gray conduit, you're going to make some battens and masts and booms. So battens, you can either make them all the same size or make 2 at 2 feet and 2 at 4 feet. Doesn't really matter, you've got enough material. Your boom is going to be 6 feet long. Your battens are going to be 2 feet long for now. Your gaff, which is the top of your sail, is going to be 10 feet long. Your rudder's going to be 5 feet and the top of the mast is going to be 5 feet. So here's how you make the mast. You take the 5-foot section and you stick it into the bottom, which is about 2 feet long, and you drill a hole for the rope to go through, and you'll drill 2 holes at the top to secure the mast. One of the 2-foot battens, drill a couple of holes. Those will be useful for holding the mast up later. Notch out your rudder and take the piece of plywood from an earlier step and screw it into the bottom end there. That's going to be the rudder. The sail is really straightforward. It's just a triangle with a little bit of a dart sewn in to give it a belly. So it's going to be 6 feet on the boom, 10 feet on the gaff, and about 10 feet on the other edge. You're going to fold over some of the tarp material. Here at the nose of the sail, you're going to reinforce it with some of the tarp material. Use the edges of the tarp to make a couple of loops. How those get used is you've got your tarp here, then your mast and your gaff, and your little dart right there to shape it. And these loops, you're going to tie the rope to pull everything really, really tight. Lay your sail down on the mast about a foot from the edge there and trim out the tarp material to expose the pipes. Drill some holes, and at the top tie the gaff to the rope that came through, and at the bottom tie the boom to the mast, just like that. Before we begin the final assembly, there's one more thing to go over, and that is the knots that I used. First one is just a simple loop in the end of the rope. You just tie it, and here's how you use it. You put it around something and pull the rope through, and it holds. Boom, done. The other knot is something I call a trucker's hitch. You pull a bight through the rope like this, and you make a loop. This is super useful. A couple of reasons. One is when you're done using it, you can just pull on the knot like this, and the knot goes away. Yay! So here's how you actually are going to use that. You put the trucker's hitch in, loop the rope around something, and check this out. As you pull on the free end, whatever you have it looped around pulls in tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is how you're going to keep the mast in place. You're going to use a bunch of trucker's hitches, and you're going to loop the rope through the top of the mast and the middle of the mast, and you're just going to yank on it as hard as you can. And that's going to hold the mast in place. And then finally there's lashing. You just put the rope around everything, push it through the little loop at the end, and just keep going around and around and around and tie it off so that everything's nice and snug. This is how you're going to attach the 2x4 to your pipe battens. Now you're ready for final assembly. Put your air mattress inside your tarp sack, inflate it a little bit, and put your pipes inside the pole pockets. Now lay your 2x4 down and tie it off to all of those battens, lash it down real good, and lash the seat to the 2x4. How are you going to rig this thing? Well, here we go. stand up your mast and put some trucker's hitches between every place you possibly can. This thing does not want to move. So, trucker's hitch to the front, trucker's hitch to the top, all the way back down again, and tie it off really good. That's the line that's going to raise and lower the gaff. And here is the line that controls your boom right there. How my rigging looked as I tied it to the middle of the mast and the top of the mast. So, how are you going to steer this thing? Well, it's not that hard. Just take the end of your 2x4 and tie a horrible, ugly knot all the way around your combination rudder and oar. Of course, you can probably think of all kinds of ways to upgrade it with metal and wings and stuff, but the important thing is to build one and go out and play. Oh, always wear a PFD. You want to be safe. Sailing, sailing over the open sea.